In view of these developments, Sri Lanka has to invest large amounts of capital to develop its infrastructure to facilitate the requirements of modern ships, as well as to increase the capacity of terminals and harbour basins to accommodate these ships. How do you think the government will invest the capital on these without increasing their debts?
Yeah, that is, there are many different ways. You have to look at this in positive. And plus, you have to, do a lot of feasibility studies, and you have to send your troops, and then we have to consider about how other world ports have been developed. Now, in our case, what is the point of taking more and more loans at a very high interest rate, which we can never be paid back? And plus, we will slow down whole Sri Lanka's growth, and then we also will have to face many other difficulties if we don't pay back in time. So why don't we? There are many other ways to do this. The one other simple way is like, why don't we lease or give it for rent, berth by berth, to already developed shipping companies? For example, okay, we can in Southern Harbour or even Hambantota Harbour, we can give 15 years, 20 years or 25 years lease to major shipping container companies, for example, Maersk or Yangming Line or OOCL, even APL, my company. They would love to take this, depending on how you approach it, So you give them these berths for those terms, say 15 years or 20 years, something like that, those terms, you give them for rent. Then what happens, then you come into MOU, sign MOU with them, they are supposed to maintain the harbour, or they are supposed to repair if any damages, and Sri Lanka will provide all the necessary assistance and the labour and everything, whatever the port and terminal facilities Sri Lanka will provide. But they have to make sure that these berths are being used, and these berths can be used in absence of their vessels as well, because otherwise the harbour will, some berths will just lay idle when there are no ships alongside. So, but how many other worlds have come up with this is for example, Panama Canal, southern part and northern part of Panama Canal at Balboa, as well as Manzanillo International Terminal, Cristobal side. They have these separate berths for these companies, massive Maersk berths. So, if any Maersk vessel is coming, they get priority. And then the vessel is berthed, cargo is discharged, all loaded, whatever, and they get fast turnaround, and then they move the ports. That way, the Maersk also gaining, and Maersk will not have to wait for delayed berthing. See, as you know, we do not have sufficient capital, and we are always on loan. So I believe the best is to get foreign investors attracted to Sri Lanka. We have to ensure that the Sri Lanka is having sufficient potential to believe, for them, these investors to believe that they can make some money out of this. So what we can do, you have to set standards which are approved by maritime bodies, the world maritime centers, and then we can create, like Singapore, what they did, we can create a business center in Colombo or in Southern Harbour or Hambantota or wherever, and then we can invite more and more investors to reach Sri Lanka and to invest their amount. It is not just only the harbour and the port, it is together with the infrastructure, it is the associated facilities which comes up. Basically the hotels, then the pipelines, then the transport tracks, rail tracks, as I was telling you some time back. So these additional facilities which require to improve the standards of the port, we must have this sponsored by different companies, and we can do it by saying like by encouraging them to invest on Sri Lanka and make some profit out of it. Okay, after some time this belongs to Sri Lanka, and then once we are well developed, then we can pay back or we can become the single owners of all our facilities. Now, without doing that, if like what they have done for the development of Hambantota Harbour, they have taken millions and billions of loans, and which they also set dates to be paid at a very high interest rate. I think at 2014 February or so we'll have to start paying. Now we have not earned anything out of Hambantota Harbour. So without earning anything, how are we going to pay back? So instead of this, if you let the foreign investors or if you let the foreign companies invest on Sri Lanka, then the responsibility of making profit out of our harbour lies with them. So that way, we can get the direct access of all those previous, well-experienced, intelligent people, and they are terminal harbour operators, and because they have already developed facilities, so we can, without we assuming doing things, we can make use their experience, and also we can use their other supportive equipments or machineries or say logistics for whatever they can, they can utilize here in Hambantota or Sri Lanka just to begin with our operation. So after that, I think we can come up with this sufficiently. Yeah. So.
Any closing words or closing statements that you want my fellow classmates and I to retain, as in the final closing words that you think is necessary for this whole maritime industry?
Yeah, it's. What I can see is we have wasted a lot of time. It is so sad that we had this civil war, and it is so sad that our attention has drawn away from this understanding the possibility of developing our country with the use of maritime sector because of many other reasons, and also the culture of Sri Lanka, the political background, and where I strongly believe these politicians are involved in each and every venture, or they are always thinking of only making profits for themselves, or the corruption, and they are trying to make ask commissions before any plans to set forth. So these things, if we eliminate these things, and if we work as a team, and if we do further studies, if we plan well ahead, I believe we can turn Sri Lanka into a very great southern hub, at least the container hub, the Colombo, and as well as the Hambantota. In this regard, I want to add a couple of things how we are trying to attract the attention of the maritime sectors regarding Hambantota Harbour, because Hambantota Harbour is not yet recognized as harbour. It is still being developed. We have recently visited there, and in the warehouse facilities and in the roads, access roads in and out, and then the lights, the voyage channels, the ISPS, International Ships and Security requirements, and then plus it is still not about regarding the harbour developments and harbour reclamation area. It is still not published in the charts. It's the charts have not been published, and then the guide to port entries, there are nothing about Hambantota Harbour. So I believe the propaganda has not launched in a proper way. You have to advertise. You have to advertise the harbour. You have to, while you are creating the harbour, while you are developing the harbour, at the same time you have to advertise this to get attention of the world maritime bodies and the shipping companies to let more and more ships coming into the harbour. Right? Now, there is one way which we can do. since Colombo Harbour is already well developed and operating well, so if you can, or if the government can emphasize on that to increase the operations or harbour terminal operations in Colombo to get more and more ships, like now with the Southern Quay, which they have built. So when we reach a capacity where the warehouse capacity is overflowing, then our handling capacity is overflowing. So that's the time we can divert ships which are coming to Colombo into Hambantota. So that way, eventually, when we get used to it, eventually ships will not have to wait in Colombo. Instead, they will call Hambantota, because transit hub. They just need a transit hub. Now, why these ships are coming to Colombo? Because the Colombo is fully or partially developed, recognized hub. So because this is the only reason. So instead of using Colombo, let the Colombo expand more and then let more and more ships come into Colombo. We have to make sure that we are providing all the services required for all these ships. Then, with that overflow amount, we can divert into Hambantota. That could be a very good beginning to improve the Hambantota harbour. So then, that way, once the people involved with this maritime sector, the charterers, owners of any shipping companies, and then the surveys, and then the maritime bodies, which are mainly working on facilitating the ports and terminals. When they identify that Hambantota has the potential also to operate as a developed harbour, then I think the matter will be solved. But it will take time.
Thank you, Captain Nishanta, for those very insightful words. Today we have learned so much from you. Thank you once again.